Am I audible now? Yeah. Very good evening to all. So, on behalf of IIC and NITC and myself, I welcome you all to this session. On behalf of IIC and NITC, I welcome our speaker, very dynamic and vibrant personality, Mr. Safil Sunny. So, about our speaker, I hope I am audible, right? Mr. Safil, am I audible? Some issue. So if anyone can respond. Yes, okay. Thank you, Saurabh Gupta, for your response. So about our speaker, Mr. Safil Sunny is the CEO and founder of Transmio, an AI and photonics-based forensic company located at Kochi Infopark. Safil is a technology expert with over 12 plus years experience. He is honored as the most valuable professional from 2016 to 22 by Microsoft for his valuable contributions. Safil is always open to new changes and progresses in the industry. Safil is the spine and soul of India's first public sector undertaking-backed company. Transmio is the world's first photonics company to integrate artificial intelligence and machine learning in remote sensing. Founded in 2017, Transmio has become the industry best after 5 years of sustained development and upgrades. Transmio's core product is basically T-Connect Overview, an AI-powered advanced pipeline monitoring system which detects intrusions and damages in oil and gas pipelines. Overview, OneView monitors and protects. Now it protects over 4,000 kilometers of pipeline across India. So we welcome you, Mr. Safil. So now you can take over. Thank you.
1 second. Let me. Am I audible now?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. Okay.
Maybe in the beginning you can just.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
So very good afternoon, all. So I was I just meant to make sure that the session is fully interactive, so you can ask questions in the chat. So I'll be able to respond to all the questions. Please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. So before getting into detail, let me introduce myself. I'm Safil Sunny and CEO and founder of Transmio. And we are one of the photonics startup as Subramanian sir introduced me. So we are one of the first startup who started working on this artificial intelligence and machine learning product in fiber sensing technology. At this point of time, we have a proven solution which is catering more than 4,500 kilometers of oil pipelines. So we are helping them to identify the third-party intrusions using the AI, machine learning, and photonics technology. And so, how many of them are here? Wish to start some startup after your graduation and all. So can you comment in the chat box?
Students, you can respond in the chat box.
Only one person required interested to start a startup. Okay. Okay, no problem. So basically, what I can say that why people why startup, what is the basic difference between startup and an enterprise? Any idea? Okay. So I'll do one thing. I'll turn off the video. That will help you to save bit bandwidth. So after that, we will take it from here. So as I mentioned, right, why startup need funding? That is the first question everyone is asking. We are constantly interacting with many real startup founders. So I am also a startup founder, so we know what is the exact significance of a startup to raise investment, typically from a VC, typically from a angels or some other sources. So financial funding will serve a fuel to help startup to develop and maintain themselves during different stage of business development. As you see, in many of these startups are already raised a huge amount of money, millions of dollars to start this. But did you guys ever wondered how these people are starting and how they are bootstrapped this company from an idea to a prototype, from a prototype to actual product, and scale that to product to the different verticals? How people are actually doing it? Any idea? So basically, as history has shown, great ideas are no longer enough to succeed in the business times. For entrepreneurs like myself or any other startup founder who are looking to grow their small businesses or an idea, and the startup required fuel. So you required to raise money. So there are many ways to acquire capital funding, as there are various forms of investment which is currently available. Are you guys are able to hear me and see my presentation? Can you respond in this chat? Great. So as I mentioned, right, there are many ways for a business to acquire capital. Like capital is basically the fuel of the company. So I'm just taking you through a walk through how a startup can raise money and what are the typical types of funding available for a startup. And we'll talk a bit more about time also. Time is basically a money. So types of funding for your startup. So we will cover it up as a first thing. What is the basic difference between bootstrapping, crowdfunding, debt funding, angel investors, venture capital firm supports, accelerators and incubators, how they are supporting a startup, how the grants are receiving from this. Are you heard about these terms which is mentioned here? Okay, great. So we will start with this, right? As a startup founder, you have to know different types of funding that are available for you to kickstart your venture. So when you talk about bootstrapping, basically bootstrap funding means founders use their savings or personal money, or let's say I have two or three co-founders or friends who want to start a similar kind of product. So they park some amount of money or assets or their effort to build the initial concept for cap that will make us a fuel for your company. So the founders who is prefer this type of startup investment to do so to prevent the third party from gaining the interest or share of the company's profit. And this is also one of the success mantra. If you believe in your product and if you want to don't want to dilute much in the initial starting itself, or if you want to make sure that your idea is value for money and the time that you are going to spend is value for money, and if you have some backup to bootstrap and the go-to market when you develop the product and typically start an organization, it is very easy, then you stick with bootstrap model. Most of the service companies are bootstrapped, as you can see in the industry, because While you bootstrap from the day one onwards, most of this service company does not require much big investment, and their go to market will be much easier, which means you require a computer and some months of labor, especially the talents you required to kickstart a service organization. So that is very easy. Or validating a product company or validating an idea, if you have some money, you can do it. There are a lot of way to successfully do it. Once you have bootstrapped and validated your product, there are multiple ways to scale this. So the next step is like crowdfunding. Let's say it's a consumer kind of application. The most common method used by entrepreneurs to raise capital for their startup is a crowdfunding methodology. As name suggests, crowdfund raises initial investment from a large group of people, friends, family, individual investors, and even from the customer also. You can see that there are a lot of crowdfunding platforms also available to raise money effectively. Can you name some of the crowdfunding platforms which is available in the chat box if you are familiar? Any idea? So I'm not familiar with this crowdfunding platform. That's a membership platform, right? There are many platforms are available like Indiegogo, Seed Invest Technology, Start Engine, GoFundMe, etc. But I never used Patreon before. Patreon is basically creative professionals. That's just maybe NFTs and all. I never used that, but I have some experience with Indiegogo and all. Any other? So what are the key factors affecting this crowdfunding? So basically the crowdfunding is done primarily using some social media and other funding platforms. With the rise of social media impact as well as the peer-to-peer networking, the crowdfunding can be easily done and achieve the traction and achieve the goals to raise these kind of money. So there is one startup in Kerala. They have raised millions of dollars to realize one of the consumer facing application through this crowdfunding platform. So entrepreneurs can find easily the individual investors who are interested to put small amount of money in this, and once you have realized this product, you can scale it into the next level by doing this. So what is the next way of realizing this to build the startup? So there is another way is debt funding. Do you like in the debt funding, basically people raise money from as an asset loan or from a small bank. So the major difference is like when you take a debt funding, usually it comes with an interest rate, and most of the time in India, it happens through the debt funding happen through some sort of VC firm or some sort of small banks, and you require some sort of collateral to service this. So maybe we can clearly classify into two. This methodology, debt funding, small bank loans, which is raised by the founders for rising the business, will as a higher, lower interest rates. This loans also readily available for startup these days because there is a scheme called the CGTMS which is available. Any startup founder, if they can apply for this, I think approximately 1.5 crore, you will be able to realize as a debt fund from any of the institutional banks through the CGTMS scheme. And the next thing is like when you talk about asset loan, usually what we are doing to do the realizing the business, people usually pledge their property or some sort of assets to realize the loan. So people do that. Startups also doing the same kind of methodologies. So now when you talk about angel investors, so people heard about like during the initial time, people are putting a lot of money as an angel investment. So do you have any idea what exactly it is? Can you comment something about angel investment here? Okay. So basically, the angel investors are basically helping a startup to kickstart and realize idea, and they are the huge risk takers because they are investing in small amount. So these are the high net worth individuals interested in providing a capital fund to startup in exchange for ownership equity or a convertible debts. So basically, if there is a good angel investor comes in, so there will be a chance of getting more investors easily. So these startups investors usually also offer some sort of mentorship. Maybe it will be a charged or a honorarium kind of mentorship also provided. This can also help our company also improve our business idea, as well as that will help you to bring a lot of network investors also. So usually what happens is like when you pitch to any of the angel investors, we usually meet them through the incubators or through the accelerators or friends and family circles or through the events or the business pitches, etc. So we usually give a small pitch to them, tell me about our idea that we are going to realize. So then we will talk about bit more about how we want to nourish this product, talk a bit more about the team, and we will identify and go it from there. Then let's talk a bit more about what is the key difference of venture capitalist firms. Hope, can you please give me some of the examples of some VC firms which is familiar and popular in India in the chat box? Yeah, Y Combinator, Sequoia, and can you name some more, please, by the others? Y Combinator is basically not we can define as a VC firm. They're an accelerator, but Sequoia, of course, is a VC. Y Combinator also has started some sort of VC funds, but they typically do the accelerations through some sort of equity investment. Any others? Okay. So basically the venture capital firms, they are a private investor that look for companies and startups with high growth potential. Usually these VCs participate in the early round of funding. So VCs are will typically target startup business that are on the stage of commercializing their idea. VCs will buy equity shares, usually the preferential shares or safe notes in their target startup. Most of the time, the valuation process or the due diligence process typically lies between 4 weeks to 8 weeks to do this. So they also sometimes provide a consultancy service and as well as the advisory service to nourish the startups too. So usually when a VC evaluating a company profile, they always take a look at the company product as well as the management profile, the uniqueness and completeness and competitiveness of the product or a service, and the potential market that will lead VC has a strong return on in their investment. Everyone is always take a look at a detailed assumption of how the investment is going to work for this startups. Then now we need to be take a look at what is the contribution in a startup from an accelerator and an incubator. So usually whenever these founders start an idea, right, we go to an incubator, we pitch our idea there. They provide usually the incubators always provide incubation facility. Incubation is basically the startup required some sort of cultivation to bring actual potential in terms of mentoring, in terms of logistics, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of mentoring assistance. All those things will be provided by this incubation space. So in Kerala, there is a incubator called Kerala Startup Mission. They also help this kind of activities. And NASCOM 10,000 Startup Program. This is one of the prominent startup program. There is one in Sign. There are many incubators which is currently available in India. So if you take a look at Startup India website, you will be easily able to identify the prominent startup incubators which is available in the country. And I believe there is a startup cell also available in NIT Calicut. Can you comment the name of the incubator which is available in NIT Calicut? In the chat box. Technology Business Incubator. Great. So so that's TBI, right? Okay. So the founders, this type of startup investor can their gateway to the other investors in this list. Accelerators help startups ventures to hasten their development. They may provide a set of time frame to mentor and fund the startups. Even usually Y Combinator is a typical example. Whoever get into that Y Combinator is getting a high success rate of completing this in a proper time. Meanwhile, incubators focus more on helping startups or individual entrepreneurs in refining their ideas, establish their business plan, etc. They also help founders to work on their product and service, market fitness, market readiness, and the vulnerabilities in the business idea to an extent as possible. So the both accelerators and incubators aim to speed your startup's journey and take you to the next level. So the next thing is the grants. Usually, almost all the startup accelerators in India also provide grants for their startups. Maybe $10,000 or $5,000, up to 6 crore, $1 million grants also available. That is also can be used as a funding fuel for your startup to grow. So look for many startup grants which is available. Can you name couple of startup grants available in India? So why do a startup investor is really matter? Does the startup require a really an investor? Any answer to this? Why always a startup founder is looking for investors? Any idea on that? Typically in our traditional businesses, when they want to start something, they usually bootstrap. But when you evaluate any of the startups, everywhere the investors are looking for, like the startups are always looking for investors. Why this really matters? What is the significant advantage for adding investors? Any idea? So there are many types of investment, as I mentioned earlier, for our businesses, right? Startup investors put up their money, time, and resources basically to help startup business to grow and make the startup profitable. So some of the investors specialize in different stages of a startup cycle. That's what I have already covered as a different funds availability. So whenever a startup investor decided to put some sort of money in a startup, usually our startup idea or the business model go through a evaluation process. So based on the investment evaluation process, the type of investment, lump sum amount of investment, like the type of investors vary. So startups usually need a working capital, and according to the plans, 82% of the startup fails due to the problem in their cash flow management. So usually the investors will help you to make sure that the company is floated till you realize the cash flow. This is why small business and startups venturing is seeking for funds. So the salaries has to be paid on time, the asset, purchase of assets, lot of things, right? The other reasons are to purchase, basically the investors' money required to purchase fixed assets, improve the services. To do that you required money, so you have to raise money from the investors to stabilize the product, to make the product realize, to do the branding, define the processes inside your organization, and to expand to multiple territories, and even for optimizing the product or changing the product from one form to another. So knowing what your startup exactly needed will allow you to plan out your fundraising plan based on your funding requirement, based on your utilization plan. We have to identify what kind of investors that you need to be identified and proceeded to the next. Is it clear so far? Any questions so far? Sure, we can go back to the bootstrapping methodology. No problem in that. So basically, to summarize the bootstrapping, the bootstrap funding means founders or the co-founders use their savings or personal money to realize the product or realizing the company. So that will act as a fuel for the company to kickstart. So the 100% of the allocation of your company will be resides with you. You don't require to dilute any money. Basically, the money that you have saved will be used for bootstrapping. Is it clear, Shivam? Great. Any more questions? Can I proceed? Yeah, great. So we are discussing about why do startup investors really matters. So as I mentioned, right, understanding the core differences between startup investors will be valuable in raising funds. We cannot ask for 2 crore rupees to an investor who is only doing an angel investor only doing 10 lakh rupees investment per startup. Then it is very difficult for him to put 2 crore rupees for that same startup. So understanding the type of investor is always a key thing when you raise money from an investor. By knowing what startup investors look for, you will be able to partner with the right investor at every step of your journey. So, first of all, to pitch with any of the investors, you need to make sure that your idea is getting attractive and it is scalable also. So let's take a look at a couple of other things in the startup journey. how angel investors, 1 second, and angel groups actually works when you work with a fundraise. So who is an angel basically? Any idea? Who is an angel? I have already said sometimes back. If you are able to give me a hint, some sort of idea here, so that will be helpful, much helpful for the others to understand. Yeah, we can say that. So basically, angels are a high net worth individuals who has some money, who decided to fund for a couple of small startups who can to realize the idea. Basically, the investment is a high risk area for the angel investor because they are funding just against the idea pitched by the investor. While as an angel investor, normally an accredited investor, if it is comes in, it will be a huge potential for the startup founder to raise money from the other fellow investors without much headaches, because whenever another angel investor look into the company profile, if it is supported by one of the prominent angel investor, that will help us to accelerate this investment. So why you need an angel investor for your organization? Some people, like for me, I'm not took an angel investor, but after sometimes later, I have bootstrapped this company. After some time later, we took a strategic investment path. That's a different story altogether. So why you need an angel investor? So as you can see that they can lend additional value via advice from experience. If you don't have an angel investor, who, like typically the angel investors who invest in the same domain, same kind of technologies, they do that, or they have some sort of expertise that will help you to nourish your product properly, and ability to raise more money, as I mentioned earlier, through few investors and contacts. Usually one angel investor comes into the picture, he will be able to give a lot of good insights and connects with the other fellow angel investors in their network. So that will be a convincing story for them to put more money in your startup. Then fewer restrictions on raising money from accredited investors, as I mentioned earlier. And whenever there is, like, let's say I have raised 10 lakh rupees for the next 5 months, and if you require some more money, maybe they will be able to put you more money later on to scale your idea and realize your idea. And as I mentioned, right, birds of a feather flock together, meaning a potential referral to other angels and the potential investors. And they also typically flexible. They will not restrict you to do lot of other activities also, and they will not restrict your cap table, or they will not make your shareholder agreement harder. They will make sure that as an angel, we need to invite more angels as well as VCs to the table, so the terms will be much flexible compared to any typical strategic investors or typical VC firms, etc. So, and next thing is, like, once the angel has been onboarded, so that will give you a deal flow happens, because you have the money with you. You will be able to scale the company properly, and you can place the proper people in the place, so the deals can flow. And even the market will started recognizing you after a prominent angel has been invested in your company. Then that will also help you to lowering the risk in investing. Increasing the investment diversification also will help. Ability to conduct better due diligence. Usually they do some sort of due diligence before they invest in your company. They will evaluate some of the competitors, what are the key differences, what will be the market size. All those things will be able to benchmark by these angels based on their experience. that will eventually help you to become a successful startup. So how do you find this kind of angels or angel investor groups? Typically, when a startup founder is always finding very difficult to identify these angels, how do you do that? Any ideas? Not except this notes. Any ideas on that? Okay, so usually we will be able to identify these angel investors through the network, personal introduction. So let's say if you have a peer founder or some founders they can also introduce your startup to them directly. And go for any of the night events which is available. So that will also help you to get into these kind of angel investors. Then you approach with any of the accelerators, incubators, co-working space. They also have a better connects through these angel investors. So that kind of introductions will help you to convert. Then a lot of meetup events happens anywhere. And there are a lot of angel investor associations also available. You can chip in and pitch your idea directly to them. So a couple of examples. There is F6S. There is a portal called F6S. So please sign up there. You will also able to find a lot of VCs as well as angels there. AngelCo is another example. You will be able to easily identify. And a simple Google search also will help you to use LinkedIn as a professional communication that will help you to get a warm introduction with any of the angels which is actively involving in these platforms. So how do you choose the right angel for your funding needs? That is another typical question I always hearing. How do you make sure that this person, this angel is perfectly fit for your need? How do you evaluate that? Any idea? Any idea? How do you identify an angel? It's rightly fit for. So basically it is important to basically looking for your previous investment. First thing is like the angel investors are always need to make sure that they have some sort of experience in the previous investment. Also, how what the value rather than the money this angel investor like money can be brought by any of the investors, but what are the extra addition that they can brought into your table as an angel investor? So they're finding the investor eager to fund in your location. That is the first thing. If he is resides your proximity, that is also very good. So that will help you to ice break break the ice easily. Investor excited more about funding innovation in your industry. Level of experience versus how much flexibility they will give you. That is also a key thing when you identify an investor, if they are willing to lead the investment cycle or not. Like let's say I need to identify a couple of investors. First of all, we have to identify an anchor angel. Let's say as a seed, many people raised 1.5 million to $2 million in India, and even for the series a $2 million. So how do you identify the right fit investor as an angel? So how do you make sure that it's an lead investor or an anchor investor for our investment level? And when you decided to onboard an angel, you need to make sure that if an angel is ready to participate in the follow-up round, and if they have some sort of track of successful exit before as an angel investor, look for the detailed previous investment and their network also. And what are the due diligence steps that they are usually taking? And ask for detailed report from them also, how they have evaluated your startup, etc. And of course the amount of money they are willing to invest. and the dilution that they are expecting. These are the basic things to identify how the angel is fit for your startups. Any questions so far? So the floor is open for the Q&A. So this is my last slide. And any questions? Hi Subramanian sir, the session we are open for Q&A. So if there is any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, so first question is already here. Yeah. Specific angel investor, how to find it?
Huh?
How we find the specific, Hilol Chakravarti asked specific angel investor, how to find?
Okay, so as I mentioned, right, it is better to go to F6s or through the local network. Like typically the angel investors depends upon the domain. If you go to angel.co, that's a website. So you can see that a couple of investors are interested to only to do an investment in deep tech, or maybe they will invest only in hardwares. They maybe only invest in these specific domain, AI, machine learning, photonics, or maybe robotics, or maybe software as a SaaS, all those kind of things. So we need to identify. We just go through their profile, through LinkedIn, through their last investment, through AngelCo, through F6S. We'll be able to identify this. Is it clear?
So he also mentioned angel. Please repeat the website. Yeah. I think he want to note it down.
Okay, AngelCo, angel.co. And there is another website is called f6s.com.
Hilol, it's clear.
And there is a website also called Crunchbase. Crunchbase.com. And it's better if you connect with any of the accelerator or incubator here in Kerala. That will help you to get connected with any of the local angel investor which is available, and that will also help you to nourish this. And there are a couple of grants also available from Department of Science and Technology, the DST. There is a grant for the startups for say seed fund. Make in India has some sort of grant. DIPP has some sort of grants available for realizing the startup idea. Kerala Startup Mission has some sort of startup idea, like a startup ideation grant available. So please explore these possibilities also. So
Expecting more
there is one
questions.
more question. What is your experience when you bootstrap your startup? So my journey was like I just started this organization Transmeo after 6-7 years of working. So then I started from the revenue, from the money that I have saved during my career. And I was planned to start after some years. So I started. I clearly know that my startup journey will be a bit difficult because the thing is like the technology that we are working is business and catering to a specific domain. So we are expecting 3 to 4 years required for to nourish the product. So we have make sure that we instead of a large capital available, we looked for strategic investment. So we build the platform from the bootstrap as a Product requirement, we took a strategic investment from the one of the Fortune 500 oil company in India. Is that answer the question, Harsha? Great. Any more questions? Q&A. Any more questions?
Safil, some faculties asked me regarding whether there is any possibility for them to interact with you regarding AI. Like,
Definitely, feel free to.
okay, so because even we have an AI club, so maybe they will be interesting you to have a session on typically on AI, like
Definitely.
the coupling and all the things on with the photonics, like sensing. So that will be, so they have contacted me for that. So I will give you your contact details for that.
Okay, perfect. So if you have any questions from the team who is joined as a participant, feel free to reach to me in my LinkedIn profile. So you can go to Safil Sunny in LinkedIn and you can connect me in there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay. So I think no more queries at the moment. Then Pridhimis.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Subramanian sir. So Safil, this is Preeti here from TBI of NIT.
Yep.
Hi.
I remember. Yep.
So nice to be with you for the session. It was a wonderful thing, actually touching up on all the basics of the angel investment and how to raise the investment and bootstrap and then going to angel and maybe thinking of VC and all those things. Of course, it must have been really good for our student innovators, especially to who really want to have some innovative idea and who wants to take the ideas forward to a startup. So it was really and very enthusiastic kind of approach from your side to actively take the doubts of the students and clear one by one. So thanks a lot for spending the time with us. We know that you are traveling up and down, for many business meets in India and abroad. So it as a part of IIC, Institution Innovation Council of NIT, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you for spending time with us, and I'm sure you will be there to clear any doubts. I hope you will be a good mentor to many of our students who want to start on their own. So thanking you once again, and thanking Subramanian sir also to for arranging and coordinating this session. And definitely thanks to all the IIC officials, President Kumaravil sir, and all the IIC officials. Okay, thank you. Here we wind up the session.
Thank you. Thank you, Preeti. And thank you, Subramanian sir, for arranging the session. Have a great evening all.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot for short notice and you did well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I will call you. I will call you later. Huh?
Yeah.
So regarding some of the products. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. We are closing the session.